Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to another Duper Dud You Be the Judge. Yes, both my children are awake because I am filming this earlier in the day, so you're going to hear little noises in the background. Hope that's okay. So yeah, we're here for another Duper Dud You Be the Judge, and this time we are trying to see if the NYX Grind palette from their Machinist collection is a dupe for the oh-so-controversial ABH Subculture palette. As soon as I saw the colors released for this palette, or at least teased by NYX, I was like, oh my goodness, that looks like it's a dupe, or at least trying to be a dupe for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture Palette, and as you can see, a lot of the shades in here scream out to me. So I wanted to do a Duper Dud You Be the Judge. That is what we're going to do today. If you're new to my Duper Dud You Be the Judge, let me give you guys a little intro and an explanation of how these videos work. So every time I do these, I post a video on my YouTube, and I also post a blog post over on From My Vanity. And on my blog post, I do a kind of breakdown showing all the similarities and all the differences between the two palettes that I am trying to dupe out. I show pictures, I show arm swatches of each shadow side by side next to each other, and at the very end, I kind of give you a summary of my thoughts and if I think using these two palettes side by side, what my opinion is, if I think they're a dupe or not. And then for the video itself, I'm just doing eye looks. I'm trying both of these palettes, as many shades as possible in a cohesive look on each eye, and I'm giving it, this is my opportunity to let you guys be the judge of whether you guys think it's a dupe or not. So in my blog, I'm able to give my opinion, but here on the video, I am leaving it open to you guys. I want to hear from you guys. Do you think they're a dupe or not? So for this specific dupe, it's a little bit different because when I actually got the Grind palette in my hand and was using it, I realized that the shimmers in here really do not even come close to the shimmers in the Subculture palette. There is not even a close dupe. Like, there's some that, yeah, they could kind of look the same, but they're really not. You guys are going to see in the swatches that I do, there's no shimmer that could be a dupe. So as you can see, this eye look is all matte because that is where the strong suit of this palette, duping the Subculture, comes from. The matte shades in the Grind palette really do look very similar in the pan to the Subculture palette, and the video today is going to test out whether they actually can hold up to the Subculture palette. So I hope I explained everything well. I'll go ahead and leave the playlist for my previous Duper Duds down below, and you can go to the first one where I kind of hash it out and explain more what I'm doing in these videos, and I explain a little more how I break it up and do it on my YouTube and then also on my blog. A little distracted by the little guys, so I feel like I might be forgetting something, but I hope you guys are excited to see this Duper Dud. And before we jump into the tutorial of me using each of these palettes on my eyes, go ahead and pause the video and comment down below which eye do you think is which eye do you think is the Subculture palette, and which eye do you think is the NYX Grind palette. I'm very curious. Do you think they're very similar? Do they look exact? Let me know. I can't wait to hear what you guys think because I was really happy with how this look turned out. But yeah, I think that's enough talk for now. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the eye demonstration. Before we get into it, you probably are going to be hearing little noises because I have my daughter with me. She is doing some school while I get ready in the morning. We're going to make my left eye the Subculture side, and then my right eye is going to be the Grind palette. Alright, so I'm just going to be taking two Sigma E40 brushes. I got two different kinds, and I'm going to go into Dawn in the Subculture palette. And then I'm going to start with this shade in the Grind palette, but just so you guys can see, and then I'll follow it up with this shade because this shade's pretty darn light. But that's kind of like those two shades are the closest to Dawn from the Subculture. So let's just go in with, we'll start with the Subculture side. And for the Subculture side, whenever I go down, this is I think my third time tapping in, I just tap once and then I knock off at least once. And just blend it out like that. I brought the aperture down a bit just so you guys can see a little better the color. I don't want to be too washed out. So now going into the NYX palette, and for this I can press pretty well, tap off once, but it's not quite as pigmented and intense as the Subculture. This definitely is really close to my skin color, and it comes off a lot warmer than the other side.
So, bye guys.
So I'm gonna go in and tap in just once or twice with that,
bye
and then add it on top. She's saying hi guys. Gonna go in once more with that darker shade.
Bye guys.
You wanna come in and say hi?
Bye guys. Bye guys. Hi guys.
Say hi.
Hi. Hey babe.
Paint your nails with me, okay? We're painting nails now. Okay, so I just wanted that to kind of warm it up, and so you guys can see that really light color from comparing those two shadows in the NYX palette to the Dawn in the Subculture. Now I'm gonna go in with two Sigma E55 brushes. I have two of them. This makes it nice and easy. And I'm going to take New Wave in the Subculture palette. And then this top shade right here in the Grind palette. And put that all over my lid. Just going about that far. We'll go back to it, but I just kind of want to set it down, what I want on my lid on a stickier base with that concealer. So I want to set it down there before I go in too much with the crease color and whatnot. All right, so there we go. As you can see, really slight difference. This looks a little more orangey. This looks a little more yellow leaning. This one's easier to blend out the edges, but you have to pack it on more. I've dipped in a couple times, whereas with the Subculture side, I dipped in once, but I feel like it's a little harsher on the edges. Now I'm gonna be taking a Sonia Kashuk number 28 tool brush. I have two of these. I really wish they didn't discontinue these. I do like them, trying to find a good replacement. We're gonna go into the shade Axis in the Subculture palette. And then this top green shade right here from the Grind palette. So I'm just gonna tap that in once and kick it off. And then we're gonna go to the outer edge. The very light tan. I'm gonna tap that off a little bit more since I have most of the color, like the pigmented color where I want it. And now I just wanna tap it in. And I'm just gonna kind of wipe off that pigment, just because since the Subculture is just so renowned for keeping its pigment, I don't want too much in the crease because I really don't want to take this color too far up into the crease. So I'm just taking it and blending out the edge a little bit with minimal product on my brush. All right, so like that, that's good for now. I like where it's going. So I'm taking that color I showed you from the Grind palette, going in a bit heavier, knocking it off once. I think it's just habit for me to knock off my shadows. Went back into the palette once to build it up. They look pretty darn similar, don't they? And then we're just blending it into my crease. Once again, kind of dusting off any excess onto my arm and then blending into my crease because I really don't want my crease to get too dark. I feel like I got a little carried away on this side, but we'll fix it. I think there's a little tonal difference. This looks a lot more intense with the color, with that blue-green color, whereas this, especially where I blend, it looks, you know, looks more like softer and almost gray-blue instead of not as pigmented. So there we have it. That's what we are at right now. I feel like this side needs to be blended a bit more. It's a little harsh right in there. Maybe that side a little bit too, but we'll get there. We got a couple more shadows to use anyway. Now I want to go in with the Fudge shade in the Subculture and the brown shade right there in the Grind palette. We're going to take them on precise little brushes. These are the E25 from Sigma, and I'm just going to be tapping them onto the tip. So let's do the Subculture first because I feel like I've been leading with my Subculture side for all of this. And we're taking this into the crease, kind of starting here where that blue-green ends, the Axis shade. Gonna use that. And then kind of go on top of that shade there. I hope it went frame. And I know that first shade, what was it called? The Dawn, that first shade we laid down is getting covered, but honestly, if I was doing this look for myself, I tend to not even use Dawn because it's just so close to my own skin color. I tend to use Dawn more of like, you know, I'm wanting to correct something, soften out the very last edge. That's when I use it, but I just wanted to show you guys that initially, just for comparison. So you guys can see the difference between those two colors in the palette. There we go, like that. I just feel like that gives a nice transition in the crease and is more what I like the intensity of color I like for my crease shade. Since I didn't really want this all in my crease, so I like that. All right, so there's for that side. Let's go in with the brown from the Grind palette, getting in a bit more on there just because from experience it needs a little bit more. Looking a little harsh there. Just blend it out a little bit more. Try not to go too high because I feel like you can keep trying to blend it, and then all of a sudden you're to your eyebrows. So I try to stay below the line I want to blend and blend out, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So there is where we are at for the two shades, NYX and Subculture, or Grind and Subculture, NYX and ABH. Now I'm going back in with the orange shade from the NYX palette on the lid and then New Wave in the Subculture. And I'm gonna put that back on just because with all the work we've done, I feel like mattes, that's probably the trickiest part of matte, an all matte look, is I feel like, you know, when you do too much blending, you can kind of take away from the intensity of that first shade you put down. So whenever I do all matte looks, I tend to go back and forth a good bit until I kind of find the perfect happy medium for all the shades. So now I'm going to go back in with Axis on the ABH side and then that green shade from the NYX side. I'm tapping that back on, staying pretty much just in that corner, just to, I'm not really wanting to blend much, I'm just wanting to put more intensity and more color back there where it got a little blended. And then this is the scariest part, is trying to blend out the edge and make it not look like a harsh line. All right, there we go. There's how those two look. I'm trying to get like this distance, like kind of where I start the transfer between the yellow and the blue-green as even as I can on both eyes. I think I got it pretty even. I feel like this one's slanted a little bit more, so let me go. Now I'm just going to take a touch of Dawn from the Subculture palette, and I'm going to blend it into here, just to keep that inside part light, because I feel like I got a little messy on this side specifically. Not really so much on this side, I don't think. But this side, where I put that yellow down, got a little out of hand. So I'm just going in with a little brush, yeah, to brighten it up. So at this point, let's go ahead and do my lower lash line just so you guys can see the colors, and then I'm gonna pause and finish up my makeup, and we're pretty much almost done here. So for the Subculture palette and my lower lash line, this is the last, I think this is the last shadow, the only other shadow, yeah, out of the mattes that I feel like could be duped in the NYX palette, but it's this purple shade Rowdy, or was I even touching it right? This purple shade Rowdy. I feel like I was pointing at the yellow. And this purple shade in the Grind palette. So we're going to put both of those on my lower lash line. Can I speak? Not exactly like color-wise the color I would choose purple with this yellow and green look, but to demo the palette and for this little tutorial, dupe or dud, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this ABH double-sided brush, the small end, I have two of them, so that's why I'm using this, because it'll be nice and even. And I'm just going to press this Subculture side Rowdy down. For this one, the purple is so intense, a little bit goes such a long way. And then just kind of flick it back. Sorry. Flick it back to the shade back here. I am going to put on a wing in a minute, so this will look better in a minute, but just kind of blend the two together. And then with concealer too, that'll help. And then I'm gonna just take one touch more and focus it a little more heavily on the outer edge, because that's where I like it to be. That's where I like my lower lash line to be the most intense. We'll go in for a third. There we go. And then we're just gonna take this side. It is totally clean. I guess I could take, let me tap into Dawn. I'm just gonna take it right on the edge. This is kind of unnecessary because, oh, fallout. We will be using concealer, but it's just to soften it up. So now let's do the same thing with the Grind palette. Tapping it in there. This takes a little more to build up, but I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Since it does build up easily, when you're so used to going into Subculture and like barely touching it, you have to kind of change up your thinking when you go into this palette. And then just flick it back and kind of blend it in. I feel like I got this side a lot more rounded and this side not so much. Hopefully I can fix that with concealer. There we go. And then I'm going into this shade right here. I'm gonna do the same thing, just blend out there. And I feel like I got a little too dark in here, so I'm gonna focus it on that part, brightening that up. Okay, and I know this isn't going to be very close because none of the shimmers in the Grind palette are dupes for the Subculture. They're just too different. But for this tutorial, and because I always like to do an inner corner highlight, I am going to take Electric on the Subculture side, and then I'll take this shade here on the Grind side, and if it's super duper different, I might add a touch of the green just to try to make it look more like the Electric side. And for this, I'm just going to use these little Maybelline brushes. I got them in like their gel liners. All right, so for the Electric shade on the Subculture side, I love this shade for an inner corner highlight. I think it looks really cool. And then this is the Grind. Yeah, it doesn't really have any green to it. So I'm just gonna take one very light dab into that green and try to kind of mix the two together. It's too different, oh well. Just making it look too dark of a green, whereas this is more of like electric yellow green, so I'm just gonna keep going in with that top shade I pointed out and not mix in the green anymore. I forgot to mention, but neither of these are wet. So there's that highlighter shade and this one. I think, yeah, you can tell that there's definitely more green in here. So I think we're done. I'm gonna complete my eye makeup doing liner, lashes, all that, or not lashes, but mascara. And then I'm gonna do my face and I'll come back on here and give you close-ups. I'm not gonna do much, I'm not gonna do anything else to the eyes. If I do anything, I might just blend the edges, because once I do my face makeup and kind of see how this works out with concealer, I often have to touch up some areas. So that's the only thing I'm gonna do off camera. But I'll be right back with everything done and give you guys a close-up shot of each of the eyes so you guys can see really well and up close and personal how they both look. So there you have it. That's the eye demonstration. This is the Subculture side and this is the NYX side. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. I'm really happy with the look and how it turned out. As I said in the beginning, this is my favorite look to use or to do when I would ever use the Subculture palette. So the fact that I could use all the mattes in the NYX Grind palette to get this look it just made my day. So anyway, I had a lot of fun creating this look and I've had a lot of fun wearing this and like testing out these two palettes side by side. So as I said, if you want to hear my thoughts and whether I think they're dupe or not and my opinions on the NYX Grind palette, check out my blog. I'll have it linked in my description box towards the top so you guys can easily find it. One thing I do want to know, I will try my best to link this palette, but I feel like NYX pulled it off the market. I'm not really sure why. I feel like they the whole Grind palette or the whole Machinist collection kind of died quietly, which I really don't understand why, because this is a phenomenal, like the quality is phenomenal. So I'm really hoping they bring it back, but I figured I'd still do this video even if it's not on the market. But I figured I'd go ahead and put this video up anyway, so you guys do have this information if it does ever become available again, which I really hope it does, because spoiler alert, I really like that palette. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what product you want me to do the next Duper Dud You Be the Judge on. If I have it in my collection, I will go ahead and do it. And if it's something I've been eyeing, you'll just give me the motivation to go ahead and purchase it and test it out right away. But anyway, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye, guys.